See you, Celeste. WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye. Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression on our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove. Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM, the advocacy education station. Yes, indeed, and that's what you came here for that education and get that third eye open. You know, I always start the show with good morning, my children of the sun. And I saw just a couple of days ago this non-melanated person on TikTok or one of those social media sites where she made this claim that the pineal gland and melanin has nothing to do with black people. Okay, with your uneducated, ignorant ass. Because the pineal gland is what produces melanin, and of course melanin is what produces our dark skin. We are children of the sun because we can absorb UV rays from the sun. Okay? You are either a child of the sun or you are not a child of the sun. If you're not a child of the sun, chances are you're a mutant. You know, I often hear people say that, you know, civilization, mankind started in Africa. Yeah, man started in Africa. Mankind, we don't know where the hell they came from. Kind of man. Oh boy, how could you say something like that? That sounds so racist. No, I just deal with, you know, I just deal with the truth. Thank you. Let me get this out the way before we continue on. All right. The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yes, indeed. You know, of course, we know what it is Black History Month. I'm going to say this to you a couple of times. Happy Black History Month. You know, I saw, and I've seen it before, but it's just coming up time and again, where Morgan Freeman, the great actor, was asked about Black History Month, and he made a couple of statements, you know, Black History Month. Well, you know, how dare you relegate our history to a month? Where's Jewish History Month or White History Month? And I was like, Morgan, what are you talking about? And then he made a really crazy statement that, the reason we have racism is because we keep talking about it. And it makes me think of that line from that Adam Sandler movie where the guy berated him for the answer he gave on the panel at the quiz or whatever it was, right? What the statement he made was, that has to be the most idiotic, insane answer I ever heard. At no point in your rambling answer did you at any time say anything that could be considered a rational thought. Just stop talking about it. Just stop talking about it. And you know what? Everybody that listened to that, like they said on the movie, is dumber for having heard that or believed it. And of course, he gets much praise for that from right wing. That's why they keep pushing that crap, you know. And it makes me think of a quote from Malcolm X. You got to be careful and watch out who they praise. And this is what Malcolm warned us about. And I'd like to thank Sister Tracy for posting that. This is a quote from Malcolm X. When we see a black man who is constantly being praised by the Americans, begin to suspect him. When we see a black man get honors and all sorts of decorations, and the United States flatters him with fine words and phrases, immediately suspect that person, because our experience has taught us that the Americans do not exalt any black man that is really working for the benefit of the black man. And that's absolutely so. Be careful. You know, it's something, of course, we had the Super Bowl coming up. And once again, you know, it's going to be a historic first. And I saw this white guy that said that, you know, he really likes football and this, that, and the other. The reason it's going to be a historic first, and this is what he had a problem with, that somebody mentioned, that for the first time in the history of the NFL, 2 black quarterbacks will be field generals, will be facing off against each other. Here we are in 2023, and we're still celebrating first. And he had a real problem with that. This snowflake had a real problem with, you know, I think it was Doug Williams that mentioned it. He's going to stop watching ESPN, and he might not even watch the Super Bowl. Really don't give a damn if you watch the Super Bowl or not. You know, the thing is that I find crazy about white people like him is, you know, he feeds into that. And you just stop talking about racism, it'll go away. Anybody that believes that is just stupid. If you just stop talking about racism, it'll go away. No, it won't. No, it won't. Racism, bigotry, white supremacy is baked into the American pie. White supremacy, don't get it mixed. They like to call this a Christian nation. Yeah. No. Christianity is not America's religion. America's religion is white supremacy. When white people say racism is complicated, what they are actually saying is they don't want to complicate their privileged lives by acknowledging the simplicity of an oppressive system they created and benefited from. It's from Brother Jardea. It's the current state of Africans worldwide. This is the quote. And the quote is actually from Assata Shakur. People get used to anything. The less you think about your oppression, the more your tolerance for it grows. After a while, people just think oppression is the normal state of things. It's from Assata Shakur. And yeah, we do. We do. You know, it's like you get used to living in the dark. It's just nuts. but it's the reality. That's right. I'm gonna take a little musical break here, and I'll come back with some Black history here. Let me see here. Play that right quick. Okay. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right, all right. Hey, cousin Zena, I see you on there. Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Tracy. Hey, Steve. All right, all right. Brother Jardea, thank y'all for helping my show along with some of your posts and quotes and what have you. Your little applause there. All right, all right. My mother really liked that song. It's called No Socks by Mr. Gibbs. All right, all right. As you know, if you listen to the Open Eye at all, that the man I'm getting ready to talk about now, I am definitely a big fan of. Mm-hmm. He was a grandson of slaves, a boy who was born in a poor neighborhood in New Orleans known as the back of town. His father abandoned the family when the child was an infant. His mother became a prostitute, and the boy and his sister had to live with their grandmother. Early in life, he proved to be gifted for music, and with 3 other kids, he sang in the streets of New Orleans. His first gains were coins that were thrown to them. A Jewish family, Konofsky, who had immigrated from Lithuania to the U.S., had pity for the 7-year-old boy and brought him into their home, initially giving work in the house to feed this hungry child. There he remained and slept in his Jewish family's home, where for one of the first times in his life, he was treated with kindness and tenderness. When he went to bed, Mrs. Konofsky sang him a Russian lullaby that he would sing with her. Later, he learned to sing and play several Russian and Jewish songs. Over time, this boy became like an adopted son of this family. The Konofskys gave him money to buy his first musical instrument, as was the custom in Jewish families. They sincerely admired his musical talent. Later, when he became a professional musician and composer, he used Jewish melodies in some of his compositions. The young black boy grew up and wrote a book about this Jewish family who had adopted him in 1907. In memory of this family and until the end of his life, he wore a Star of David and said that in this family, he had learned how to live real life and determination. You might recognize this name. This little boy was called Louis Satchmo Armstrong. Louis Armstrong proudly spoke fluent Yiddish, and Satchmo is Yiddish for big cheeks, a nickname that was given to him by Mrs. Konofsky. You know, we often talk about the relationship between Jews and blacks. Sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, and something I need to do a special programming on. It's I'm doing some research on it now. So yes, who I was talking about was Pops Louis Armstrong, the most important figure in American music. And I'll tell you why. 3 reasons. 1, he invented modern time. 2, he was the only artist to influence the music both as an instrumentalist and as a singer. Okay? Frank Sinatra said, If you're not using Louis Armstrong's phrasing when you sing jazz, you're not singing jazz. All right? And the third reason, he established the musical vocabulary that all music has been written from since. And he did that before he was 30 years old. Louis Armstrong, I know our most, one of our most important figures in African American history. This is Overnight, WHGE 95.3 FM. Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist, right here on WHGE 95.3. You are enjoying the open eye. Earlier this week, I was talking to a friend of mine, my buddy Vaughn. You on there yet, Vaughn? No, not yet. He'll catch your show later. Okay. And we were talking about the Harlem Renaissance. And interesting enough, I mentioned it to another person who's a young person who did not really know much about the Harlem Renaissance. It was really a very important cultural event, cultural time for African Americans. The Harlem Renaissance was the development of the Harlem neighborhood, which is really a small section of Manhattan in New York City, as a black cultural mecca in the early 20th century and the subsequent social and artistic explosion that resulted. Lastly, roughly from the 1910s through the mid-30s, the period is considered a golden age in African American culture, manifesting in literature, music, stage performance, and art. The northern Manhattan neighborhood of Harlem was meant to be an upper-class white neighborhood in the 1880s, but rapid overdevelopment led to empty buildings and desperate landlords seeking to fill them. In the early 1900s, a few middle-class black families from another neighborhood, known as Black Bohemia, moved to Harlem, and other black families followed. Some white residents initially fought to keep African Americans out of the area, but failing that, many whites eventually fled. Okay, I don't have it in my notes, and I didn't include it in my notes right here, but there was a well-to-do African American who bought up a lot of property in Harlem, and he was really the catalyst for turning Harlem into a black neighborhood. Outside factors that led to a population boom from 1910 to 1920, African American populations migrated in large numbers from the South to the North, with prominent figures like W.E.B. Du Bois leading what became known as the Great Migration. In 1915-1916, natural disasters in the South put black workers and sharecroppers out of work. Additionally, during and after World War I, immigration to the United States fell, and northern recruiters headed south to entice black workers to their companies. By 1920, some 300,000 African Americans from the South had moved north, and Harlem was one of the most popular destinations for these families. This considerable population shift resulted in a black pride movement with leaders like Du Bois. I say Du Bois because my grandmother, who was a Garveyite, pronounced his name Du Bois. And she did do so with some level of contempt. If you know anything about the schism between Marcus Garvey and Du Bois, you wouldn't understand why a Garveyite would have some contempt for W.E.B. Du Bois. Okay, Du Bois worked to ensure that Black Americans got the credit they deserve for cultural areas of life. Two of the earliest breakthroughs were in poetry, with Claude McKay's collection of Harlem Shadows in 1922 and June Toomer's Cane in 1923. Civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson, one of the important writings was the autobiography of an ex-colored man in 1912, followed by God's Trombones in 1927, left their mark on the world of fiction. Novelist and Du Bois protege Jesse Redmond Fawcett, his 1924 novel, There's a Confusion, explored the ideal of Black Americans finding a cultural identity in a white-dominated Manhattan. Fawcett was literary editor for the NAACP magazine, The Crisis, and developed the magazine for Black children with Du Bois. And there were a lot of characters that made Harlem an exciting place, for African Americans. And during that time, Harlem was pretty much the capital of Black America. And of course, one of the things, and one of the persons I mentioned earlier, Louis Armstrong, the music that percolated in and then boomed out of Harlem in the 1920s was jazz, often played at speakeasies offering illegal liquor. Jazz became a great draw for not only Harlem residents, but outside white audiences also. You had the Cotton Club. With the groundbreaking new music came a vibrant nightlife. The Savoy opened in 1927, an integrated ballroom with 2 bandstands that featured continuous jazz and dancing well past midnight, sometimes in the form of battling bands helmed by people like the great Fletcher Henderson, Jimmy Lunsford, and King Oliver, who of course brought along Louis Armstrong. While it was fashionable to frequent Harlem nightlife, entrepreneurs realized that some white people wanted to experience Black culture without having to socialize with African Americans. And a club was created to cater to them. Or a few clubs, actually. And the most successful of these clubs was the Cotton Club, which featured frequent performances by Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. Actually, Duke Ellington's band was the first band to be featured in the Cotton Club. It was an interesting comparison between Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. Okay, now some in the Black community, they derided the existence of such clubs, like the Cotton Club, while others believed they were a sign that Black culture was moving toward greater acceptance. Okay, but the Cotton Club, of course, was segregated in its early days, I think up into the early 30s, and really that was because of excuse me for the brain fart, because of the Great Depression, because of the fall of the economy on Black Tuesday in 1929. Now, one of the things I mentioned was the interesting comparison between Ellington and Calloway. Ellington became very famous at the Cotton Club, wrote some of his greatest compositions during his tenure at the Cotton Club, and went on the tour. That's when Cab Calloway was hired. Now, one of the features of the Cotton Club were the beautiful, tan, dark, and lovely dancers. But they had a rule in the Cotton Club that these women all had to be light-skinned. And of course, Duke Ellington, he never mentioned it or said anything about it. But when Cab Calloway came along, he said, okay, you know what? I'm not going for that. I'm not going for that. Because we have dark-skinned beautiful women who were just as good and talented as the light-skinned ones. I'm not holding anything against the light-skinned women, but we're going to bring some dark-skinned women in here. And, of course, the monsters that own the Cotton Club, we not. You out your mind. And Cab Calloway said, okay, I ain't no problem. Find some goddamn body else to play in your club. Big ups, Mr. Calloway. A lot of respect for that brother. Yes, sir. Like I said, there were many characters, many people that were responsible for the culture of Harlem during the Harlem Renaissance. And of course, one of them was black nationalist and leader of the Pan-Africanism movement, Marcus Garvey, who was born in Jamaica but moved to Harlem in 1916 and began publishing the influential newspaper Negro World in 1918. His shipping company, the Black Star Line, which was registered here in Delaware by Howard Cooper. And for those of you that may not have listened to the Open Eye or may not have heard me talk about it, the man that carried the papers to register the Black Star Line, Marcus Garvey's shipping company, Howard Cooper, was my great-grandfather. Okay? And the Black Star Line established trade between Africans in America, the Caribbean, South and Central America, Canada, and Africa. Garvey is perhaps best known for founding the Universal Negro Improvement Association, or the UNIA, which advocated for separate but equal status for persons of African ancestry with the goal of establishing black states around the world. Garvey was famously at odds, as I mentioned earlier, with W.E.B. Du Bois, who called him the most dangerous enemy of the Negro race in America. His outspoken views also had made him a target of J. Edgar Hoover. As a matter of fact, J. Edgar Hoover's assignment to go after Marcus Garvey was his first assignment as a government agent. And it was on the back of the persecution of Marcus Garvey that the FBI was founded, and J. Edgar Hoover became the dangerous person that he was. The end of Harlem's creative boom began with the stock market crash in 1929. That's what I was trying to think of. And of course, the Great Depression. And it wavered until Prohibition ended in 1933, which meant white patrons no longer sought out the illegal alcohol in uptown clubs, and that's when they started letting black people in. It's a great movie about the Cotton Club, starring Lawrence Fishburne and this white dude that was in the movie. Sorry, I can't think of his name. You ever get a chance, check that movie out if you haven't seen it. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye, coming back with Nsoromma on the air. What's up, brother? Chop, 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 chop. How you doing? How you doing?
What's good, y'all? Yo, Steve, Tracy, Jared. Yo, Wagwan. Yo, what's up, Sheila? Hey, what's good? Yo, we just started a home care business. So if you got somebody that needs some home care or you taking care of and not getting paid for it, hit us up. We might can help y'all. You know what I'm saying? Or hit me up on a message me. Your number and I'll call you back. You dig? For real.
All right, all right. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Welcome to the air, my partner in consciousness, my brother.
Yup.
Yes,
Chop,
indeed.
chop, chop,
Nsoromma,
chop.
chop.
Yeah,
on the air.
Hello,
All right. I was talking about the Harlem Renaissance.
I heard it all, man.
I
I was surprised about Louis Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
He was raised by Jewish people.
Yeah.
Yo, that's deep.
And that's deep.
You know what I'm saying?
That's deep.
Yeah.
You know, we may have some animosity between the black community and the Jewish community.
Right.
But it wasn't always animosity. All right. A lot of times there were people like the Kanarskis.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that help and look out that, I mean, that was dope.
Yeah. I myself had an old Jewish friend.
Right.
By the name of Ben Cohan, who helped me out in the printing business. Mm-hmm.
I have a Jewish friend, Dr. Peterson.
Okay.
He the truth too. I mean, it's just, it's certain relationships that you can build and grow with. I think basically any other nationality, if they of good people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And don't get it mixed.
Don't get it mixed.
Don't think that I'm excusing those of the Jewish community who took advantage of or participated in our oppression and persecution.
Any other, it ain't even necessarily Jewish community.
Yeah,
any other
community.
That's
of
right.
Course,
Of course,
and those of us that know our history or have seen the movie The Cotton Club know that there was a battle between Jewish gangsters and the black gangsters.
That was on Harlem Night too, right?
Yeah, that's on Harlem Night too. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Harlem Night was made from the Cotton Club.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Now, getting back to Harlem, me and Vaughn talked about this guy who was known as Mr. Harlem. I think I had talked about the fabulous Mr. Harlem, Dickie Wells, who was a Harlem playboy and entrepreneur. He lived from 1908 to 1949. He died at the young age of 41.
Or was he killed?
Well, you know what? I was just getting ready to say, during my discussion with Brother Vaughn, we speculated that he may have been murdered because of who he was and what he done.
Oh, okay.
Richard Dickie Wells, known as Mr. Harlem, was one of Harlem's most gifted tap dancers. He is a nightclub owner, and last but certainly not least, is most notorious gigolo and playboy. Yeah, buddy. Oh, Mr. Wells, he was getting around, all right? And he was involved in quite a few things. He was involved in some drug dealing and what have you. Okay, but one of the things that he was known for, and it's according to legend, right, was Dickie discovered that his female admirers weren't only interested in his dancing, okay, which is how he became a gigolo. And by the late 1920s, Dickie was spending more time in the company of rich women than he was on stage performing. And tales of his extracurricular activities in the bedroom were beginning to spread. And soon, women from all across the country were pouring into Harlem to meet the baby-faced dancer, who was often mistaken for a Cuban due to his light skin and wavy hair. Right? And remember, we're talking about the late 20s, early 30s in Harlem.
Right.
These women included actresses Nina Mae McKinney, Joan Crawford, Tallulah Bankhead, Ava Gardner, who was Frank Sinatra's wife.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, they was bringing it from all over to give it to him, wasn't they?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's right. And in addition to several other women, they lavished Dickie with expensive gifts, first-class trips around the world, and, of course, money. And lots of it, too. Lana Turner, in particular, became so demanding of Dickie's time, so much so that Dickie decided to introduce the blonde bombshell to his good friend, heavyweight champ Joe Louis.
Oh, okay.
Just to get her off his back. Yeah, buddy. And this would mark the beginning of the, this is during the time where, segregation and all that. And, interracial relationships were very much frowned upon.
Right.
And Joe Louis, because of Dickie Wells, had a love affair with Lana Turner. It's also said that Clark Gable, Earl Flynn, James Cagney, and one-time Harlem resident Charlie Chaplin were all in competition with Dickie.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, his reputation grew. That's where, let me ask you something.
What?
He had a restaurant, right?
Right.
And I saw yesterday he went over to Hum Diggity's.
Oh, definitely. That's my boy.
Yeah, and what'd you have over there?
Oh, what did I have? I had a mash bowl.
Oh, okay. I thought you had chicken and waffles.
Oh, nah, I ain't had chicken. I had a mash bowl. We make the mash bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me tell you about Dickie Wells' restaurant. According to street legend, a rich female admirer of his fronted him cash to start a supper club, which by the early 1930s became one of the most popular night spots in Harlem during the jazz age.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, of course, jazz artists, they work until, late in the night and into the early morning hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's word. And since Dickie's club catered to the late night, early morning crowd, most of his admirers were undecided whether to order dinner or breakfast. Dickie fixed that problem by serving them a little bit of both. Some coffee here, a shot of bourbon there, and a hot plate of chicken and waffles. That's where it started with Dickie Wells.
Okay.
Yeah. And this odd but tasty dish soon became the new craze in Harlem, and everyone started to get in on the action. Actress Ethel Waters opened her own restaurant that served the dish, as did another Wells, J.T. Wells, who opened his famous Wells Supper Club.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Dickie's Club in 1938, but it was Dickie who first introduced Harlem Nights to the dish in 1930. Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles is the most popular restaurant chain that continues to serve the dish. Mm-hmm. As for Wells, life would not end on a good note for the Harlem Playboy. Drugs and alcohol cut his life short when he died from a supposed drug overdose at the young age of 41 in 1949.
You said supposed?
Supposed.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I have some suspicions about that. Him running around in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, running around seducing and getting money from all these white women. And when news in the California Eagle newspaper spread of his death throughout Hollywood, Ava Gardner cried for days. All right? Tallulah Bankhead collapsed and fainted. Billie Holiday was scheduled to perform at his funeral, but was too distraught to do so. Over 40,000 people, mostly women crying, attended his funeral service. Mr. Harlem, Dickie Wells. That's where, if you didn't know about him, you know about him now. And where'd you learn about him?
The open eye.
WHGE 95.3 FM.
Yaga. Yo, so what's good? What's good? Damn. I know Tracy, right?
Where Tracy's at?
Nah, Tracy was like, damn, respect y'all, you know what I'm saying? Respect King. You see what I'm saying? Yo, Steve, what's up, yo? Pops.
Yes, indeed. All right.
Yeah. All right.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the open eye.
Yeah.
Patrice Gibbs.
Nsoromma.
Yes, indeed. It's Black History Month. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody don't like that.
Everybody don't like that?
Nah, everybody don't like that.
Oh, okay.
No. You know, protests erupted on Wednesday after a Philadelphia student appeared to spray paint on another student's face black while making racist remarks. All right. Yes, indeed. According to CBS News, the Archdiocese of Philadelphia is investigating the racist video believed to involve students from St. Hubert Catholic High School for Girls. In the video, two students, one of which was in blackface, can be heard saying, "You're a black girl. Know your roots. It's February. You're nothing but a slave. And I'm black and I'm proud. One student continues to spray the other student's face black, and they are boastingly laughing at their racist remarks. So, demonstrators gather outside the school holding signs with phrases including hate hurts, condemn and confront white supremacy, where's your humanity, prejudice creates pain. Yeah, we know all that. Here's the thing. All right. You're not going to make them stop. The protests are not going to make them stop this kind of crap and what have you. You educate some. Let me tell you something I said to someone just, earlier this week. Black people's problem, I just said it last week on the air. Black people's problem is not racism. Racism is white people's problem. All right? Our problem is white people. That's our problem. That's what we're putting up. And look, let me tell you why our problem is white people. Because
really? Okay.
All right. Because this is the kind of crap they do.
I like to hear what you have to
say. All right. Now, if you know anything about Mississippi, you know that Jackson, Mississippi, the capital. Is that the capital? I'm not sure right now. It really doesn't matter to this story.
Okay.
But what matters is Jackson is 82% black. Mm-hmm. Mississippi's mostly white legislature had voted to implement a separate appointed court system and expanded police force in its capital city. Yeah, it is Jackson. It is the capital, which has the highest percentage of black residents in any major American hub. Even though the capital, Jackson, has an 80% black population, white Republicans dominate the state's legislature, which they have completely redesigned over the past 30 years to pass any law without needing any Democratic votes, which means no black votes. Okay? Suppose House Bill 1020 is passed into law later this legislature season. Well, it has been passed. It's just being waited. They're just waiting for the racist-ass governor down in Mississippi to sign it into law. Okay, if it is signed into law, the white Chief Justice of the Mississippi Supreme Court will designate 2 judges to preside over a new district that will encompass, among other regions, all of the city's majority white neighborhoods. So what they're basically doing is they're creating a white government within this black enclave, okay, that blacks won't have any say in, won't have anything to do with, that will rule. And so if you go in these white enclaves as a black person, all right, you're going to find yourself in a lot of trouble with these people.
I mean, what kind of thinking is that?
White supremacy?
It's for the world to be okay with that. Not just them putting it together, but the other white people that don't want what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Where are they?
Yeah.
They need to step up.
That's what I'm saying.
Racism is a white problem.
We need to step up. We don't need to be governed by them anyway. We need to govern ourselves for real.
Yes,
we're the only culture that doesn't govern ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So it starts with ourselves stepping up first.
That's right.
For real.
That's right.
And that's messy. They still with this kind of trying to go backwards.
Johnny,
And that's why you have to arm up. I say for real. You have to, man. It's messy out here, man.
I agree.
You can be riding, going to get a juice, you and your daughter in a car, and end up being killed because you so-called went down the wrong street or in the wrong area. Come on, man.
Or you went through a sundown town.
That's
what they're doing. Okay,
right.
What they're doing is they're making their white district within Jackson a sundown area.
Right, so you can't go out of that area. And then when you're in that area, you're doing nothing but being locked up and targeted and all kind of...
And for the new district, the white state attorney general would choose 4 prosecutors, 4 public defenders, and a court clerk, who will all be white. The white state public safety commissioner would lead an expanded Capitol Police Force, which is run by a white chief. And the annual cost of the new court system is projected to be $1.6 million. In Mississippi, where Mississippi is one of the poorest states in the country. Mississippi contributes $1 to the federal government and takes $4 back because they're so poor. All right? And it makes me think of the great singer who I admire and what she said. And she said the name of this tune, and I mean every word of it. Nsoromma said, and I quote, Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. And everybody knows about Mississippi. God damn. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye.
Yeah. Drake, what's up? Abdul, what's up, son? Know what we do, you know what I'm saying? Mr. Gibbs putting in work. Zena, hey, cuz. She said, how things doing? What's good? Peace and blessings.
Yes,
Yo.
all right. Okay. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. Let me tell you something about these race soldiers.
Okay.
All right.
What?
Their job, their mission,
Right.
is to murder black people.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't be serious.
Man, look.
You can't be serious.
I most
I had to
definitely.
say that reggae style. You can't be serious, man.
Yeah, man. Everything is
God.
not idly here.
Everything that I know.
No, man.
Oh my God.
All right. I saw it was a video from a tense standoff in Seattle between a black man who was holding a Bluetooth speaker, and the cops who had. One cop had an AK-47? Yeah. He had it pointed at me. The man had a Bluetooth speaker in his phone. And it was an intense standoff, right, that led to this man fearing for his life. Fortunately, as a black man, a crowd gathered on his behalf and police eventually backed off as a result of bystander involvement.
And they left. Right. They left. Obviously they ain't have nothing on him anyway.
They had every intention
to kill him.
They'll kill him.
Right. And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. Like that's just insane.
Yeah.
They hiring these people to go kill
Yes,
us.
indeed.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's
and I mean, you know, they had guns pointed at the man. And it was a black man who happened to live in a mixed neighborhood. And most of the white neighbors came out and blasted the police down.
One of them stood and went and said, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah, if you want to walk up to the police.
So you won't get shot.
So you won't get shot.
What kind of...
Yeah.
Like, and we noticed that in the police chiefs and all these other administrative chief executives, they don't see this. They're not addressing it. No, they want this to go on.
They want this to go on.
And it's getting ready to be a
Remember where the
police
came from. Remember where they came from. They came
slave patrol.
From the slave patrol.
That's right.
That's where they came from. All right, and their mission
the first
then
badge
and their mission now.
Yeah, that
is
first
to keep
badge
us in check.
Is the badge that badge the slave badge, plantation patrol, slave patrol, the same badge they wear right now.
Right now,
they never changed the badge.
Oh, they modified it and modernized it.
It's still the same
star or the same shield.
Yeah,
it's still the same. It's still the same. Because they are still who they are.
Wow.
Okay? Now, here's the interesting thing about that. Right? Now, the cops called in the situation and said, there's too many citizen involvement and we can't safely approach this man and, without doing harm to the rest of these citizens. So we're going to have to back off. We need permission to back off of this. All right? If that had been in a predominantly white, black neighborhood, they would have called in SWAT, the goddamn National Guard, and everybody else, and there would have been a war on them black people in that neighborhood. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about that.
When you got a government that bomb a whole block.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they ain't coming out? Well, just
Shit.
blow the house up. All 17, 20 of them on there. So just boom.
Mm-hmm.
And yo, that's the mentality that they have.
Yeah.
That it's always about war.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's on us.
That's right.
And that's crazy.
That's crazy as hell.
And we never fighting back. We never standing up. We never throwing bombs or nothing back. I mean, we just accept it. Okay.
Well, we don't just accept it, but
it seemed like it.
It may seem like it, but see, the thing is this, and you know what? I gotta bring back the quote from Asada Shakur. Was it from?
But what I'm saying is, we're all the warriors at when these things happen to our people, and they don't get together and go to the people's houses that did it. It ain't even about the jury putting them through the system or none of that. It's about we the people.
And remember, you know what?
Right.
And it's something that we have to remember. Okay, we are not so much outnumbered, but we're out organized. And we have to approach this thing from a very intelligent art of war stance.
Right.
You know, it requires planning and vision to deal with this. And that's what we have lacked because,
right,
as I said earlier, it was from Brother Jardea that posted this, a quote from Asada Shakur, people get used to anything. And that's a big part of our problem. Okay,
right.
The less you think about your oppression, which is why they don't want you to talk about it,
right,
the more your tolerance for it grows. Okay, after a while, people just think oppression is the normal state of things, and it cannot be our normal state. We cannot accept oppression as just our way of life. Okay, which of course brings me around to, like I said, these race soldiers murdering our people. Because, and I'm sure most of you have heard by now, that one of the cops involved in the murder of Tyree Nichols,
right,
took pictures,
right,
and sent them out to 5 or 6 people. All right? So it makes you wonder, was this premeditated? Yeah, I got his ass. See, here's the pictures. You know, or was he sending out the pictures to people that he was hoping would help him get out of trouble for the murder that he participated in? Okay, he approached the unmarked car in a black hoodie, yelling profanities. Before he even got to the car, they snatched the door open and pulled the man out. They didn't say why they were pulling him over. The police chief, C.J. Davis, said there was no reason to pull him over. They claimed, and this was a cover story, that he was in the same car and it was the same guy that had got away with a reckless driving the night before.
Okay, and he ain't worth being murdered about.
Right. When the hell did reckless driving become a goddamn
that's a
death
ticket.
sentence?
That's a ticket in a class that you're supposed to take.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the they get out of their car with attitudes to kill us. It ain't a ticket. It ain't you was speeding.
No.
It ain't nothing but murder on their mind.
Right.
So what do I have to say to not be murdered? And you can't say nothing because they force you to try to talk to them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're not talking to me.
Yeah.
Take me.
I seen one.
Down, man.
I seen one where his brother got pulled over. The cop walks up to his car and immediately grabs the door handle to snatch the door open. The brother, he reached out and grabbed his door and said, "Don't you never disrespect me like that. Pull up and snatch my door open. You didn't even come up and ask for my license or none of that. You just gonna come up and snatch my door open." Oh, hell no.
Now imagine if he was armed and he was licensed and armed and he felt as though this cop was a rogue, racist, whatever, you
Yes.
know, and then he come just not asking for information, not doing the proper procedure, just run up and try to kill me. I think I have the right to bust off a couple shots. Most definitely.
Yeah.
We have to start protecting
You know,
ourselves.
You know, but like I said, you know, we have to be careful.
Call the cops on the cops. Why he coming to
you? Ask for a supervisor.
Nah, they come with the same attitude.
Yeah.
You call the cops on the cops.
Well, that's your right to ask for a supervisor. The thing is, we have to be careful what we put out there because they already rolling up with the attitude that just our skin makes us dangerous. So now we put out there that, a cop rolled up and snatched my door, I'm gonna shoot him.
Nah, that ain't the issue.
No.
The issue is defending yourself.
Yeah, the issue is defending yourself, but the issue is also going home.
Oh, I definitely want to make it
because when you get pulled over by a cop, you know where you are. You're behind enemy lines in this war on our people.
Right. Just think of all the people that was pulled over and killed. Right.
Got killed.
Now they thought they was going home.
Yeah.
They was trying to follow and abide by all the procedures. And it was mostly people that didn't have any record, didn't have any work every day, and had a family to go home to. I mean, these was regular people.
Yeah.
Where is their justice?
Where is it?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You know, like I said, the thing is, we have to always be intellectual in our dealings with this. Because if you're emotional, you're not using your intellect. And your adrenaline goes up, and you're not thinking clearly. All right? When you're behind enemy lines, you have to be smart in those situations.
When you behind
because
enemy
you can
lines,
be lucky once in a while, but you can be smart every day, and that's what will keep your
This
ass
should
alive.
get you home when you're behind enemy lines. Shut up.
Yeah. Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Shut up.
Shut up.
And just be arrested.
Yep.
That's it.
And deal with it.
And deal with it
and
on
let
the
your
fact.
lawyer
He's
deal
not
with
the
it.
judge.
That's right.
He only becomes
Deal
the
with
judge
it in
and the
court.
jury out there when you give him resisting arrest, attitude. I mean, all the things that they have permission to clunk you upside the head with this billy club with. I mean, it's more than
Gotta
just
be smart.
It's more than just thinking. It's shut up. You don't have to say nothing. You have the right to remain silent.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. And many of us don't do
Right.
that.
We say
and
everything. You can read. Here's my license. Here's all my information. I don't have to say nothing to you.
Give me my ticket and send me on my way.
I'm choosing to be quiet.
That's it.
Okay?
That's right. And there was a lawyer that comes online and he tells you, shut the F up.
Right.
And do that. Now, you know, we still got this going on overseas. You see people that, well, you know, America, the American dream, and it's gold in the streets, and I'm coming to America, and they're the number one. They're number one. All right. Yeah. America is number one, all right. Number one in the number of inmates.
Yeah.
Number one in the number of rapes that take place. Number one in the costliest health care. Number one in mass shootings per day, per week, per month, per year. Number one in fetal mortality. Number one in weapons exports. Number one in mental illness. I'm going to stop right there. Number one in mental illness. Yo, Americans are the craziest ass people in the world. Make no doubt about that. These people are nuts. Don't bring... Where you live at? You live in Nigeria? You live in Belgium? You live in Turkey? You live in Jordan? Don't bring your ass over here. These people are nuts. I'm telling you.
Yo,
I'm telling you.
Did you see the young lady that she's from Algeria? You know,
Nigeria.
Nigeria. One of them. She's not from America.
Okay.
Right? And she was explaining on how when they come to visit America, they have the African Americans stigmatized. They make them watch a video and show them African Americans doing nothing but stealing, crime, rape, murder, and they give the outsiders this stigma about African Americans that live here. Did you know that? They had to watch a video to be even admitted
into the country,
United States,
right?
Without
and these
seeing
are
that
Africans
video.
that they do this
right.
with.
This is not only Africans, but they specialize with dealing with Africans.
Yeah.
They do it with everybody.
Oh yeah.
But Africans is really who, and that's why when Africans get over here, they be looking at us like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, they scared to talk to Africans that's here because they see them kind of videos.
Right. Yes, indeed. And of course, why they do that? Because the last thing in the world they want is for Africans in the diaspora,
right?
All right, to have a profitable relationship with Africans on the motherland.
Wow.
Don't come over here. I'm telling you, don't come over here until you know what you're dealing with over here, because these people are crazy.
Right.
All right. Out of 195 countries, America is 25th in human rights, 37th in public health care, 38th in math education, 25th in democracy, 122nd in global peace. All right, these are warmongers, man. The 24th in science and education literacy, 46th in life expectancy, 23rd in corruption. Wait a minute, that number's too low. That number's too low. 23rd in corruption? Nah, it's one of the most corrupt countries in the history of the world.
Yes.
24th in reading literacy, all right, and 18th in social progress. I think that number is too high, because I think in social progress we're one of the worst countries in the world. And that's where Mississippi, goddamn, God bless America.
Slaughter.
Yeah, buddy, we on our way, brother. Destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority.
Who treat you as an option.
Nova and I, WHGE 95.3 FM, on Patrice Gibbs.
I'm Nsoromma in the building.
Thanks for joining us.
Yaga! And yo, as you know, we just started up a home care service and make it help you. So, if you're taking care of a loved one, a friend, hit us up. We can be a benefit to you.
All right.
And once again, thanks. There go my boy, Mr. Gibbs. I'm Nsoromma in the building. And thanks to Abdul, Zena, Tracy, Slaughter, Smaya, Mimi, yo, it's Sheila, the whole squad. You know what it is. And yo, and we also streaming all platforms. Yo, Mr. Gibbs.
Streaming all platforms, like I always tell you. All right? Global Africa supremacy. We got to fix the world. The world was a much better place when we ruled. African rule, the only way to survive. Peace.
Thank you very much.